Ready, steady, who that they want go this the issue. Greetings, good people. What's up? What's happening? My name is Dr. Clarence, and welcome back to TV7 Live on 27 December, the year 2024. As we are seeing, only 3 days remaining. 3 days remaining before we step into the year 2025. And we're still breathing. Feeling good, better than before, in spite of all the despites and despites that is happening in our nation of Zimbabwe. Remember, Christmas takazo square, taona message ya Jennifer Muswera, Minister of Information, speaking about ED 2030, ED 2030, ya resolution ya total wana government minister. Now, kana zauta na government minister, asi mchango aitaura koi, va Jennifer Muswera. So Jennifer Muswera, this guy, is one of my favorite ministers. And the message yaga so buda administer achuna manje. Hey. Anyways, I just like him as a person. Being a young man, things like that. He is somebody who is different from Tatenda Matera. Even we see the way he handles himself. Even when he's giving a message that people might not necessarily want to hear. How he handles himself. Jennifer Muswera handles himself with self-respect, with dignity. He's just a cool gentleman. Angolo gentleman, ango kula. Hana zungu ringereji. Manje inulu sa minister of ICT. Uguna NCT. Na asiku ambu sorry. What is happening in the nation of Zimbabwe? Calls for the removal of Zimbabwe President MNANGAGWA. Then we see him in a video speaking from Pre-Cape Farm. What would he be saying there? He's talking about state of the mission address. What mission? We're gonna go there. Then we're seeing here a preacher Mnangagwa's prophet Andrew Wuta Unashe delivers an 8-hour sermon to denounce Zimbabwe. We're talking about Zimbabweans based in the United Kingdom there. So he's one of my colleagues there. Even though we don't necessarily share the same points of view. What I can say about Zimbabwean is somebody who has dedicated his life to dedication. He put his all in championing. And he is really aggressive. He is somebody who is hands-on in championing, non-stop. He defends straight up. He defends. One person I would say is the most active among Zimbabweans all over this world is Zimbabwean. Because Zimbabwean is so aggressive and an action man. We may see my colleagues may get a little bit jealous or ignore him. But what we need to do is to be inspired by people who do things. Some of the people who would inspire me, apart from my father, who was the editor of all the big newspapers in Zimbabwe, from the Herald, Tribune, Daily Mirror, Daily News. We're talking about President Chiki. He's the one who would inspire me. he would be an editor at one point at Longman, where he was doing books and Pinduka 7, etc. Mabuka Kawanda, right? So, as my father's younger brother would inspire me. But one person who would inspire me outside my family is Lance Goma, near the radio. First Zimbabwean to start a website. First Zimbabwean to start an online newspaper. Back in 1995, before Zimbabwe had internet. So, may the good Lord bless him. He is a pioneer who would break barriers for us in these parts that we are now following. So there's a time I was doing blogging, I was doing a lot of online newspapers, and about offside, etc. And I love a whole lot of them, right? So most of the stuff I would do it anonymous, faceless, so that people don't know who you are and else that you're doing. Like you don't put your basket in one egg or eggs in one basket, right? Like here where I'm coming from, the things I was focused on in the past few years, right? I was seeing witchcraft fools who stay near me, thinking they can kill me. Like they really want to kill me. It's been many years. They would try to break my social cycles. So they would call whoever they think is my acquaintance or my close relationship. Hello, Clarence, right? So I don't mix with people who do not have dignity or honor or respect, who are respectable enough to be influenced, or people who are dumb to be influenced by a dumb person, right? Anyways, back to the Zim I. What does he say? Utaunashe. We're gonna go there. We see another one here. MNANGAGWA's extramarital son arrested. So MNANGAGWA has an extra son. Who is this extra son of President Emmerson MNANGAGWA that get arrested? Are we seeing a secret son like we would see a sun emerging, not from the sky, but will be coming like from the sky, eclipsing the Mugabes? We're talking about Mugabe's secret son who would be born in the nation of Mozambique. Speaking of Mozambique, what is happening in Mozambique? Are we seeing more peak in protests? What's happening in Maputo? Has the mob been put out or throttled? And in Beira, as we are seeing, people are fighting for their liberation there in the area, hands on, legs on, protesting, disputing the elections. We see the AOAU issue a non-statement on it. Then we see the SADC. SADC seems to have gone so dark. Remember the SADC that was in Africa in the 1995, at the time where we would see Zimbabwe would be hosting my All Africa Games. We're talking about All Africa Games. Akaitwa pa Chitungwiza Aquatic Complex. Imagine Chitungwiza could host the entire Africa for All Africa Games those days. Now, it is an entire joke. It's not really a game. There is nothing that is functioning in Chitungwiza. The only thing that is functioning in Chitungwiza is TV7 Live. Everything else is nothing. Jokes. Zviriko zvinoshanda here and there. My CEO epachitungwiza hospital, you taking money and genga rema delivery etc. But kwakudama kandiwambo zokambo ita delivery kunoku yay. We need a revival. So who is this son? MNANGAGWA son. A 40-year-old man has been arrested for invading the state house and demanding to see President Emmerson MNANGAGWA, saying he was MNANGAGWA's son. Police at State House have arrested the 40-year-old man seeking to invade the State House. So we would see this man arrive at the State House, and then his status would be changing too. It's complicated. In a lock-up, he has been implicated, not necessarily in prison or in jail, but currently behind bars. In the first incident, Magurei allegedly stormed the State House armed with various weapons, including a Shambok, claiming MNANGAGWA is his father. So he was like, I want to see my father. Okay, yeah, yo. Squapa. So this was Shambok. I am not Chivayo, but I am his son. Okay. Okay. So it seems that this Icarus was flying too close to the sun, and the wings that were made of wax would be waxed off, and he would be vexed, and then shoved into the prison or behind the bars. Anonzima holding cells. Speaking of cells, if people knew what cells means, we have geomagnetic cells that atnoshan sapama cell phones. Like these geomagnetic cells are actually hexagon shaped. How does when you call a person, how does the signal know when to reach you? How does a phone call reach your phone number? Panoshanda my geomagnetic cells in this reality, right? The signal is not coming from the booster, but it will come to your phone directly. What format does the voice come in? It's another subject for another voice, but I'm just bringing in the word cell. The word cell is not only physical, it is spiritual. Because the geomagnetic fields of this earth affect our positioning. I'm not talking of course, GPS is somewhere there. But I'm talking the magnetic spectrum that really affects this earth. Why do we have a North Pole and a South Pole? Why do we have a magnetic spectrum around the earth? Remember, the magnetic spectrum is not gravity, but it is the one that we can perceive. It is electric. It is electric. This is a 4-dimension world. We do not only have 3 dimensions. We also have phase. To those who know electronics, we have phases, or geometry, phase, or my wave structure, right? My tangent, cosine, etc. Right? Like when we have a coil, right? Tikai crosser at 90 degrees, magnetism, not electricity. Electricity changes magnetism. Back EMS from electricity to magnetism, right? The 90 degrees angle that is used there. Sometimes we may divide by 3, create a ply. In again, 360 divided by 120, right? Unbalanced. So, magnetic frequency ika intersect kwa ni copper coil at 90 degrees. Mu copper oil muno accumulate magetsi. So the things that happen on this earth, it has something to do with us people living in these physical cells, how we are affected in our brains, and the reality would manifest. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because you need to know you are a spiritual person. Whatever you desire, it is very possible. Nothing is the only thing that is impossible, because nothing doesn't exist. Anything else is possible. So you have to know when you desire something, it can happen. A prosperous Zimbabwe, it will happen very soon. Like starting from 1 January. That's why I would begin this video by saying we have 3 days before we end the year of 2024. There's going to be a shift in environment. For obvious reasons, it's going to be a new year. People are going to be having a new mindset. But apart from that, there is something that you're going to be seeing in the skies. A different sun that is going to be shining in the sunshine nation of Zimbabwe. So fellow Zimbabweans, we have been remembered. We have cried for a very long time. So as we step into the year 2025, let's not forget that these guys are not going to extend to 2030, but let us focus on ourselves until the government this. They can do whatever they want at their farms. It's their farms. Zimbabwe is not their farms. Zvavo zvekuda kutekesa vanhu, feeling entitled to stifle the citizen. It's criminal in its own. Right? Vakomana vakaenda kuchimurenga nepfuti. Right? Kushandisa kambani or kushanda nekambani inonzi iyo the state. Kwasiyana nekuronga hondo yegorilla yekumbaya. Of course, some strategies may work here and there. How long did we fight for independence? Tomboti hondo yakatanga 1965, where they would term the name Zimbabwe. Right? 65, 75, 65, 75, 85. Tongoti 25 years. Zekurwa. Right? Okay, some may argue. Kuta first chimurenga, anyway, 2017, fourth chimurenga, fifth chimurenga, whatever chimurenga, utia chimurenga namba. And I told you chimurenga nyika is in a state of war. Right? Remember Bob Marley would say, you better fight for you are right. Right is in the opposite of wrong. Your rights are your rights. You are not wrong where you are right. You have a right to own property. Critics to demolish your property by some demonic person who is looking to consolidate money because of open spaces, other create new stands. They said we had the land reform. I don't know anybody who has a farm except MNANGAGWA maybe and his family. Right? And these guys are demolishing houses. Hey, makatenga my illegal stands. Call land reform. Who did the land benefit? Right? Skakomana would chimurenga gidi. Election gidi. Kutaga goride gidi. Mastendi gidi. Vanugada. So, let us focus on building ourselves. Let us focus on economic emancipation. Economic emancipation is not a collective thing. You bring your own personal economic emancipation. As Bob Marley, we're going to know who the real revolutionaries are. Bob Marley was enlightened. When he came to Zimbabwe, he saw they were aggressive. Makomrades arawahonda akaramzwa kupinda Rufaro Stadium. Rufaro Stadium ikatopukanywa. Like Bob Marley in 1980. Stadium, he was tear gassed. But he would continue to sing Bendi Rakere Seramira. So the power of music is really power. In the beginning was the word, and like you said, faith comes through hearing, through the word of when we speak, our voices create energy. It doesn't resonate the air or drive. We create new energies when we speak, be it vocally or internally, mentally, spiritually. So we see Bob Marley says, "Tichaona who the real revolutionaries are." Now this is where we are. Where are we? In the year 2024. Right? In the year 2024, as we are seeing a lot of attention to try to get people's attention. Remember, we pay attention. Tension, like your military. Of course, you may be having tension, then you pay attention through yoga, then you release the tension. I'm not talking of that type of attention. I'm talking of the type of attention that would consume you, that you become so disoriented. You can't focus. You're believing in a hocus pocus, in a caucus. You can't even think of thinking. You can't plan of planning anything because basically there is no money in the nation. Mtulungube would loot it all and bring it the ragged zig. Okay. I'm just saying the useless money, just in case he'll be listening. I'm saying it for him and the guys who work in the government. The money is useless. The money is fake money. All right. Of course, people are not fooled. Wasn't that the agenda? Now that's evil and criminal. Okay. Why do you keep doing things that don't work? What are you doing? Are you doing what you purport to be doing, or you are doing what you are really doing? You're doing, which is we are seeing here. Like the guys, they got mansions in countries I can't even mention. The guys, they got their lives set, not for a lifetime. Don't mark my words. So I've cut myself. I don't want to say things there. So this story coming, who is this MNANGAGWA son who would go there? It's a story just to distract, escapism, hedonism.
Unfortunately,
Saka mkomana asvika kuState House akabata chamboko. Vasungonzi wauya wakabata chamboko. Uri mboko uda kuita sei? Uda kurova MNANGAGWA manje nechamboko chako. Okay. There would be a time where we see a similar incident would happening, where we see a guy with a car would go there, and in the car, anga katutakura futi some stimulants, cocaine, right? They saw he's caught there in cocaine, so the guy is arrested. And he was not necessarily trafficking. Trafficking happens at the border, which is controlled by our government. See, my illicit substances achipinda our nation. But let's not talk about illicit substances. What we need is food security. We need electricity. We need running water, not running battles of running watery ideas. Right? Money. The Ministry of Finance is very necessary. Pano dissolve kwa cabinet, finance inosara. Nyango panet kwa ku, finance inotanga. Do patinola mZimbabwe 20 I think mukupe anombopinda ere or anopinda just before uyu mukupe wekuzosungwa kumana mukupe ngabuda kumana ingwana mufumira makamubudisa kumana msadaro men. Okay. Chikugumira pa usinyi wekuluta mari is backed by English kudisabisa mari. So I don't know mtulingube mbava around idofo, one of the two. When he created the zig, okay, it's another subject. Kana redo for pani marinongo yakatorasika yakawanda yakadabulika, but I don't think he do for, because that's why I would introduce the other TGS. So the guy is not necessarily a professor in academic. A professor is kuita professor kwasiyana nekuenda kunotenga driver's license. So in academic professor angfanane munhu aenda kunotenga driver's license. And we're seeing the level yake. Okay. Ngatisamboti imbava ngandingoti example. Kune type zembava hamane shamwari. Zimwe mbava dzinenge dzakapfeka ma uniform dzichiti mapurisa. Dzichikutororai mabuli. Makomkom command. Kukomanda vanhu. Hanzi we are nationalist, we are socialist. Everything belongs to everyone, but isusu ndisu chino controller and we dictate. Kuti ningano na chakati but akomana when I China the guys would be building a hospital where COVID less than 10 days. China is really fine. China we are seeing even my products anosuka kunoku, right? But Zimbabwe, now Zimbabwe, it's Zimbabwe as in kuti houses of stones of chiefs, houses of stones meaning graves, ruins. We see one guy called Mutapa is said to be arrested. So I don't know who else apart from me would begin speaking about the issue of Mutapa. I would begin speaking on it in the year 2021. If somebody did talk about it before that, maybe I would understand. At the time, I'm just making some observations. That's where we speak about Southern Africa is Mutapa Empire. It's spiritual what an empire is. An empire is built through an emperor. An emperor fights. Then they create an empire like the British Empire. The British Empire, how do they create colonies? They create colonies by first turning people's sovereign communities into ruins. Matongo. Kana kwakune vanhu, you are ruined, you have no order. Remember, a nation is a collective of people who share the same culture, the same identity. That's what builds a nation. That's a church. The collective faith of the people, it is what manifests even the value of the money. People should believe in it so that it works. People should, right? Now, an empire would have conquered, be it through a way a rebellion, where we are seeing ISIS in the Cabo Delgado in Mozambique, rebels arimo, the Islamic State. It's a state. Like, the state is not the territory. They have a territory. How many years we have the United Nations, but they haven't been quelled? Because a state is a spiritual entity. That's why we see even in Nigeria, Boko Haram, inenge ine motikari trichet, but ababati. Panituma rituals, spiritual beliefs, chichi. Like we are seeing in the nation of Mozambique. I don't know how many people should die so that Mozambique becomes a ruin. Like, during the liberation war, we had my militants, we had my collaborators, my corroborators. Kune vaifana kusacrifice kwa kuti vafire nyika. Anybody who knows something about Chimurenga knows what I'm talking about, especially kana ari my military general. People had to be sacrificed so that the nation is freed. Like, people had to die. Not they had to fight also should go. The meaning of sacrifice. Those kakwa ma combatants, ma collaborators. Kune mungu anakwanisa kufika kufa ne mungu asikwanisa kufa. Kune asinga shoot kene futi akafana neni. Right? But kune anozvipira kufira. Wazvipira ka fira nyika. Waenda unotonofira and mune muri ma militants muri front line. So a certain number of people have to die. What is happening in the nation of Mozambique? We are seeing the opposition in Mozambique taking position. We are seeing a chance for change in Mozambique. But looking at the nation of Mozambique, historically, we have had massive war. Right? Massive war movement. Kuna na Swapo, kuna na Frelimo, etc. We see at one time the pipeline is blown there. That situation has been there. When Zimbabwe would go there, Zimbabwe would quell that in less than a week through paratroopers. They end a civil war. They end that unrest. I think the year is 1985. Up until today, we see Zimbabwean military running a pipeline there, guarding it and manning it. So why am I saying this? Something is happening in the nation of Mozambique. It has always been happening in the nation of Mozambique. The stories we had in Mozambique from the days my Portuguese also see Makara de Mozambique. We know a certain culture there. I don't know what's happening in the Transvaal area in South Africa, but something spiritual is happening. Either it's a doorway for prosperity or it's a looming loophole. Remember, we're an empire. We are an empire. People would be tricked into thinking they have developed a colony. They have developed a state. We are still in the state of war. We haven't established a proper established nation. We haven't established anything. What have we established?
hazina basa rakanyanya zvaro kwandiri
Because it's not an eye, that one.
nekuti harisi ziso iri
It's not an eye.
harisi ziso.
See, when we were young,
Tiri vadoko
we would sing in the African bush,
taimba
in the village.
mumaruzevha musango.
Ndasongana nechembere yakatasva bere jena. Come on, sing that.
I met an old lady riding on a white hyena.
Nechizizi pamusoro
With an owl on the head
chokuvhenekera zviri mberi.
to enlighten the path ahead.
Shanganyoka ndiyo mboma. Translate that. Mboma is Shanganyoka ndiyo mboma. Nyoka.
All right. So we are seeing Andrew Utaunase there speaking. I don't think he has anything personal. We learn by learning. So let us learn. We learn by learning. We learn what to learn. Or we learn what do we learn. Like we look into it and learn without any bias so we can learn something. When we approach with a bias, then we may never learn anything. Okay, let's say the guy is criticizing somebody who we like or we don't like. All right. Some may be happy that they're doing that. They're attacking. That will be a bully mentality, a troll control mentality. Right. But when somebody is addressing something, they are addressing something that is there. Not necessarily it is a personal matter. But sometimes you address because you are in the position to address or you have to speak about something. So we have a lot of enlightened people who know the reality. Especially most of the preaching guys. One guy who I know was very conscious and enlightened. Chueshe. I don't know if he was called evangelist. Chueshe, that Chueshe. The Chueshe who would be making makassettes, ema preaching achitenderera kusati kwane social media before tambozia Emmanuel Makandiwa would be coming with the same message like PD Chueshe. Neuti Chueshe ait kana abata shoko ama. Aibata shoko runobata apana paisia. We would hear Masas Manages like Vane namo baba bebenzi. Ungatore dongi kwenda naro kurwisipata ungarimanikize kunuma. Right. Those were the days before we would know great motivation speakers like Anna Zig Ziglar. Those were the days. So this guy, Apostle Chueshe, was like the first TED talk, the first motivational speaker we would be getting before we would be exposed to the internet, following the invention of the operating system called the Android. It would first emerge around the year 2009. We see the Android. We are now moving from a G-type G-tail. Now, if we lost information, there's something that is called a generation gap. What do we lose to know how to maneuver in life? That is the generation gap. How generations get separated. If you learn a generation, if you're fortunate enough to be part of a transition of a generation, you may have so much information that, hey, you can run this nation like you are the government. We're talking of Zimbabwe, how difficult it is and the people. Now let's talk about the other nations like Botswana, Zambia. That's why those guys are afraid of, I was going to say MNANGAGWA. I don't mean that. I'm just saying it to say a point which I'm not saying. If you get what I'm saying, that is it. I'm saying what I'm saying. And I can't say it.
The snake is the whip. The snake is the whip.
So this is what a witch does in the village. She gets on a hyena. She's not wearing any clothes. And the whip for a horse, which is the hyena, is a snake. And the headlight
mwenje wacho
is an owl.
izizi.
Go and tell the Zimbabwean people to change them to Zim Owl.
Enda mnoza vezimai kuti vachinje kuti izizi.
All right. For the sake of context, I've seen a lot of people cannot understand some of these things, especially when vanogona quite a conscious education, literature, rhetoric, poetry, things like that. What he's talking about when he's saying a snake, he's talking about a person who is a deceiver. Anekufamba kusiri straight, anohisa, anozezera, anokwenyera. That is the snake. Ndo nyoka, ndo diabolos, ndo diabolos. Astara neze nyoka yanga ine makumbo ere mgarden. Is giving an example kuti nyoka, because we're speaking of vanu anonzi nyoka vanu vakaita sei mapere anita sei mapere anodya mhuka dzevanhu, right? Mapere, they prey on people's children, on people's properties. Those bere. Even the owl rinofamba manheru rine maziso mahombe rinonzi riri wise, but riri wise here. So we would see here saying it's not to be called Zim Eye, but Zim Owl, right? So when he said Zim Owl, when I was watching this video, I didn't predict that. Now just because I'm explaining, I would listen to myself speaking. Okay, the owl. He said owl because of the eyes. I hadn't realized it, but now as I'm speaking, I realize the owl with the eyes and the ears. So sometimes we learn by teaching. We learn by teaching ourselves. We speak to ourselves to learn, right? When we're speaking to people, that's how we do. We tell people what we want to be told, right? So the owl is just said to be wise, etc. Okay, I don't know much about it. I don't research on things that I don't research on.
Zimbabwe, the path ahead.
Shanganyoka ndiyo mboma.
Shanganyoka ndiyo mboma.
Translate that.
So I don't know this song. I'm song, the folks way songs. That's where we would pass education through song and language, so people can learn. I see you when you get there. If you ever get there, a thing that you would have learned, you may realize it at a time when it is very necessary. Learn from your own self. Don't be told anything by anybody who is a nobody, right? Yes, you can be told about economics by your economics professor, right? You can be told about your bank balance by the bank teller. You can be told about the prices in a shop by the shopkeeper. But everybody else is everybody else. Dzinenge dziri nyoka dzichida kunyengera. Iwe auziye kuti ningirikini ere unopuwa pressure peer pressure, you conform to no form, wongoita kunge mombe wakungotera gwara remagwara. Fanike taungana tinokuhypira tokuisira masound effects anenge pamusic yana Eminem yana yo ausikona manje gaya ipapo ungavonzwa ro iwe but ukazodhipisirwa manje unobva wazorwa neresonance this chest cavity in a calcium, right? Like I'm speaking from my chest, I'm using my chest voice. So what happens when it vibrates? Kunge tuning fork, even when you're playing it through your speaker, your bone would resonate with it. That's why science kudara pairo ngoma vanhu votanga kutaura vachitumira message over ngoma, because wave yengoma that is it keratin, something to do with keratin. Okay, some polyesters akadaro anogadzira dewa yaya mune calcium futi imomo mune collagen, things like that, right? Paunorwa ngoma tingi that skin yakafanana netympanic membrane iri munzeve. Tympanic membrane yoti kana tichinzwa inovibrata yobata kochela bone rovibrata rocreate piezoelectric inosendwa ari masynapses mubrain medu, right? Kakochela kanenge kari kabhonzo, right? So the tympanic membrane, when it vibrates, it sends. It's more like carbon. I don't find in a cover somewhere there. No sure breaking here. There is no contact, but it transmits the signal to the Coachella bone. The same way an FM receiver works with each ferrite, panning upon each carbon. I think you can remember my receiver, my radio data. Panish Jangish carbon, change gas money or my wire, but my wire action out and a silk. It shows to change the wire EDC. My gates is created that way. Songo minor rower. Tones go, right? Same way, when I'm speaking in a chest voice, it actually can move you. You can feel it physically. You can feel it even in your stomach. Like you can, your stomach, even your heart rate would change. Especially when I begin speaking with the same rhythm, like I'm using the same tempo. Yes, I'm using, not necessarily deliberately, but I'm speaking poetically because in my mind there is order, there is no disorder or despondence. So every time when I speak, be it I'm beginning a speak or I'm at the peak of the peak, when I speak like somebody who is a grader, not digging with a pick. Like I speak graded speaking, not degraded speaking, like speaking that you can read, that you can comprehend, speaking that flows, speaking that has got pattern, a certain pattern that is very interesting to listen to, speaking that is very captivating. Some may use the word hypnotizing, enticing, whatever the way, but it is just a pattern. I'm just doing a pattern which is normal. Okay, nothing weird, Musukuru. Kandama kwati ndakumbo kutsosa right ndakumbo kufara wakapusa stere mina ndinyatso kukushandisa chivoice chinomara nekuti chivoice chinomara ndo chinobata manje ndokubata kwachona ikoko uri kumndwa inini asekuru wako ndiri kutaura panapa kuti chimboisa amakwati mfana inonzi Harare inoiti mbokubira right. Inini handisi social worker ari panapa kukubatsira nema mental problems ako because you are mentally disturbed nestress nema problems inditori geva manje ndiri kutokuudza kuti hama dzako dziri kukuroya kuitira kuti usatombo batsirika nhama dzako nemaschool fees mari yese yako ichiperera kuno kumanje wanzwa here muzukuru, right? So I'm being sarcastic there, right? So people have their ngangas. It's not a sensitive issue. People was never fake Zimbabwe, it's not going to violence, right? But this is scientists in a foot. Anyways, let's continue with this. What is he speaking about? Nothing personal. He's just preaching, giving a real life example, right? I'm not taking his side or not taking his side. I'm just noticing how we can learn from anything. Any story tells a story. Even a fake story is story because a person cannot lie. That is another active philosophy I'm yet to write, actually, and publish. A person cannot lie. What do I mean? Even when you are lying, you will be speaking the truth in your pattern. We can actually read your speaking pattern. Remember, my song intonation. Intonation is not what. Intonation is joining two tones. Ngoma in a tonality. That certain tone. Ngoma aina key, aina pitch in a tone. Of course, that's ngoma tirimu but ngoma zinogadzira sound kwete voice. Sound in a voice is zvakasiyana, right? I may be speaking with my voice right now. Ondogona kutanga kutaura ne sound. Kana ndakutaura ne sound, right? I really can't do it speaking in sound and Shona because I'm more well versed in the language of English than I'm versed in Shona, or I do think so. But when I'll be speaking in English, I'll be speaking the sound, not necessarily the phonetic, but the sound of the word, like the word itself, the sound, how it sound mind, how it sounds to the spirit. So we see people will be chanting in some spiritual conjuration. Hey, toy, toy, hi, toy. Like those things. My conjuration, it works sound and voice is different things. Yes, I can't say a lot. If you get it, you get it. That's how it is. Enough respect to everybody who's watching us live. But now, ding, 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 that certain tone. All right, that tone. So it's very interesting. Right. So these days I usually listen to Oliver Mtukudzi because I haven't been making music for a very long time. Oliver Mtukudzi, how does he sing? Oliver Mtukudzi doesn't necessarily sing. I know the thing, but he chants. Right, like diatonic singing, how we do in Zimbabwe. Singing is not like what we perceive. My baking, that's not singing. Yekwatukio yokuchanta. Isingazive anodundam. Sichida ariko kumsoro. Like he's chanting. The man is sounding like he's preaching. So he's doing something. Okay, let me try to sing so-called cultural songs, which are really some people who can be as a beautiful instrument, matter how it resonates. But vangomana zvinhu zvachona imi hey. Ndiri kutenderera pamusoro wevabereki. Ndoda kumbokuitirai mutambo unonzi kambo uyu. Aiwa nehanda nyakasikana akomana. Makore manga ndichingoti nehanda nyakasikana. Yes, takura here titi nehanda ambuya nehanda nyakasikana. Ndaziconfusa andina amenu ando confusion yacho. Okay, so sound we usually use it in poetry, consciously or subconsciously. That's how we are manipulated. We are manipulated in a tone, the tonality. Then pitching. We can pitch a business idea to the fish tanks. We can pitch ourselves. Hello, makadi yenyu mbereki. Tiri kufonera vanhu vese tichivaudzwa kuti tine product yedu ye-funeral insurance ndeyekuti imimi kana mafa tichazokupai mari yekuti mukwanise kudya musati mavigwa. Saka mari yatinokupai coffin renyu tokupai nema$5,000 US dollars etc. Things like that. Okay. So speaking of the coffin, in 2008 I would make my father a coffin. After the guys here killed my father, everybody was basically folding their hands, the satanic people there. And I did make it from scratch. That is something I would do for him. Right, I'm just remember that. Okay, I do take my insurance. Me, I don't like insurance. Things like that. I'm just throwing it in there. Of course, insurance fraud and slaughter. Akomana, unclaimed insurance, etc. Akomana, torai mari dzenyu, puai mari dzenyu, suai vanhu, torai ma benefits amunobatirwa. Okay. If you wanna opt out, you are given your money. It's your right before you die or before you retire. Okay. Even my tax returns, when you go in another nation, you are not taxed in a nation that is not yours. Must take my income, take my many taxes, right? When you go buy things outside, my tax are not from a supermarket. You can claim it back and get your money back. I do not want to think some products. Mutaunu mundozo wanono mahoda nawe here vakuita ma tax returns oro vari kugadzira ma pirated projects mukumbare uku. So with that said, it is said. So we haven't finished the Utaunashe video. I'm speaking the same way he would be speaking. We are humans. We live. We are human beings. Living is speaking. That's why we have freedom of expression. A human being is a human being by being human being, and human being is being. Kuwe munhu akusi kudya chete. and andingati kudya chete kuve munhu kutaura. In the beginning was the word, and he said, let there be light. And the moment was ba, ka. It was before the ba, because the ba would come after bereka. There will be the ka moment. Let there be light, it's ka. We have a bright idea. Twing. The idea is clicked there. Idea tendered. Twing. Now the idea is being idealized. The vision is being realized to be experienced in reality. We are realizing a dream. It is becoming, because it starts from the spirit, from the dream world to where we are, which is this third dimensional space, which is the stage we're seeing the manifestation of our bodies. We can see our bodies and things like that, but everything begins when it begins as an idea. It begins as an idea before it's there. It begins as a plan of it being there. And when it's a plan of it being there, it means it is already there in spirit. The guy was talking about nyoka. He was talking about mapere machichi. Anonzi machinda ePersia. Vanhu futi. We're looting, vechichi. Right? Like here, I'm here experiencing active philosophy, and God is teaching me a few things, right? Then some fools think one can so chipisa ma billions are panap. Level one Elon Musk for their nonsense. Like it's a pity. Okay, it's really a pity. Enough respect to everybody who is watching us live right about now. Zvisingaiti azviiti. Kuita zvisingaiti zvinoitika sei izvo zvisingaiti. Right? Remember when my father committed suicide, he was harassed. Vanhu vachiuya achimbodzinga nepfuti yeshiri. Right? Mapuranga andoshandisa kugadzira coffin. Cyprus. Munhu waaigadzira kitchen unit yanga asitapedza because of disturbing outrider project. They want to disorient kumukanganisa kuti asasenze the same way zvavanoita ndichisenza manoise maruzha. We are not disturbed by non-existent as long as they don't enter my yard. Ezvinozvi pitiri muyadhi mangu ino pasaidha pakazara mabhurugwa apa. Aminoti munhu anofunga kuti mabhurugwa achaita sei. Right? Mumwe ndakamuona achizora mavagina fruit kuface. Vanhu vasinganzwisise sainzi vofunga kuti anoita sei. Munhu muka here, munhu ane mapheromones here. Right? Because atinonwa mukaka wemombe une oxytocin bonding ningirikini. Tine bonding nemombe here. Right? So chigai chemadofo vanofunga kuti vamagai because vanofunga kuti kuba chigai. It is better to be a beggar than to be a robber. A robber is somebody who has given up their lives. I cannot be anybody. I cannot achieve anything. Rega indi lute. Is a dead. Akafa. Patula Jesus taught anakufa akavata. Talita kuma. Pakila lupa. Patinozosvika kuna mene teki pasinde. Tinongona idea kuti language chachona chaishandiswa ichochi chaichi eli oi things like that. Li anoreve ta ku. Okay, the sounds we can construct these out in my word roots and up etc, things like that. Takwenda kuma etymology in my words. It can help you to know the meaning of certain things. I'll just understand some things, then I'll be learning. I don't know why I'll be of course I'll be learning to be teaching to impact. Right? What I do is to learn to teach. Anything challenge me, give me a task in a period. Okay. And but that's what I do. As a child, when I'm growing up, I just desired the truth. So as you develop your children, kindergarten, early childhood development, motivate your child to become who they become, to become a truth-seeking person. Never teach your children mana kuti maita basa. Umpa plate yesata maita basa, umpa porridge ita maita basa. It's an alien culture. You know, this is when everyone was not tita. Mwana ngazi kuti isadza rangwi. Right, ndodambo ma snakes nganipinde mufridge ndimbo fry ka bacon. Right. Haisi entitlement akusi munhu ngaspoil chicha kaipa pakuspoila. Kuspoila kwakaipa kuspoila kwekuzvimamira. Kuspoila kwemapati pupa vanoda kuvhiringa zviro zvevamwe. Kuspoila kwevanhu vanofunga kuti zvavanoita kwavo ndo zvinoitwa kwese. Manje kuno kughetto. Basically, we stay dzimba dzakawanda, the majority ma 4 rooms. Right now, I'm just using 2 rooms anyway. Ndakambisa maloja. I never had lodgers because sometimes I remember maloja chimbouya. But there's a time where I would be putting my lodgers from 2015 where I say God dambo pinda mukena makamira same nyika. Right? From the year 2015, that's where I would enter hell of the world in the year 2015. Right? So I'm gonna take 7 years in that because I'm dapat 12. Jesus. Life is good, God is good, learning is good. Everything is great. Right? So mdara God is again when I learn things and not undermining God, I'm direct up. You simple, eh? When I'm mdara God, simple. Can I say you know how to see? Same applies. If you explain it one, you know die so. Chino to bata, chino to eat. We have no educational system in Zimbabwe. We don't have illiterate people. We have people who can say hi, hello, how are you? Who cannot comprehend English, who cannot learn what they are learning, who cannot perceive what they are learning, who cannot apply the education they are getting, who are getting inducted. We have an ignorant. Which Zimbabwean ministry is performing right now? Which institution is performing in the nation of Zimbabwe? 25 years of fighting. How many years have we been so-called independent? More than 40 years. What have we achieved? We have realized, that's when my microphone will turn off. The only thing we have realized is we have realized nothing. Worse done. Now we're seeing this government is being compared to the government of Ian Smith. Ian Smith is out disenfranchisement. Arikukwiza ma standard. Vanhu vari kukomplaina kuti vari kuda basa rinoda a certain skill and training and education. Hence we are equal. Haana chikoro chekuti akwanise kuva nurse asaroda kuva nurse. Hastambotsaya kuita agriculture haina kupusa because tinokuti nursing. Agriculture, of course, we haven't been farmed. We have been peasant farmers. We can't farm. Ever since the land deformed, no problem. It's been a downward spiral. From farms of maize, it's now just fields. We can say hay, because if it was hay, that grass we could sell it to horses. As we don't even know of things like the OK Grain Challenge, Kwanana Mos, escapists, all sort of nonsense. Right? So Zimbabwe, if you wanna love Zimbabwe, become an entrepreneur, make money, and help Zimbabweans create employment. Right? Politics is not a solution. We address politics. We speak. Those that speak. We don't speak to power. We speak power. Right? My comrades. This is what we are saying, information, what we are saying here. Some are content creators, some are journalists, some are poets, some are musicians who speak, who create beauty. Even if we look into the oldest book, the oldest library, the young man Solomon manje angakasiyana na wikneyo aita zvemaakwa uyu anga ine madzimai nemaakwa achona futi. King Solomon would actually be capturing my demons, types of demons and whatever they meant, right? Even Anna Moses, right? King Solomon, my songs of Solomon, etc. King David aitorwa magitare umbula gonna sokta uyamondwera mangoma mfano wangu apane zvikunetsa, right? David otorwa ndingi hapu tongontindi hapu futi yakadafana ngoma ine kasiuki keke ma strings aya mangwano ma nylon whatever the polyester is, right? It creates some type of electric reactor from our skin. The vinyl, our skin is plastic, that's why it's on plastic. This vinyl, right? Kupinda this is what the epidermis, the first layer of epidermis in a the lipid panda ma fat pass up, right? Ma fat akada fine polyester. I try not to forget the polyester, for the cotton because we're disturbing the charge here. Topinda, tona iron ferrite or iron oxide in blood, hemoglobin, but all the oxygen, my red blood cells. My red blood cells which are made of fire, which is plasma state. Blood plasma is actually yellow. But don't go spatter in the immune system. Then from that, tine bone, calcium is much banana sodium, food and control movement, blood, mtsinga, etc. Toso pinda bubuni maro mnogazira blood. Robert say, my direction iwayo, those energies. Synergies. Okay, so there is a lot. I need to be moving to a place which is really a place, not this hell kuno kumbombera kunema entitled maluta who want to be stealing ideas. You're working on something on your computer, a program, they want to steal it and make it theirs. You're making a beat, they want to steal it and make it theirs. Remember, we're in the age of information. Store your treasures in heavenly places. This age of information, we are moving from the shelf company. Yataisa ma briefcase, akafani ma briefcase at ma case at nesa ma file court ma court papers to what a filer. Kuna click of court. Kuna register of company. Ma same files taenda you find the shelf company. Masagashta company shana exist. Do company achona. It is spiritual. I na building because I manufacture dinner gana chingwa. It's a service provision company. The company format. Now the future is the spiritual company, the software. What is Facebook? It's the operation code PHP. Your Facebook has to my server is backup. The information is in the cloud. You know gonna silly when I sing as here. Right, FM minima server. It's come FM wave no she can say. You know kind of mom. Ozone layer national data pa ozone layer anga ma voice anga ma frequency kune ionosphere kuspaka kutenga ukuku. Right here running Jesus. So it's beautiful. The world is beautifully created. Technology is good, is beautiful. Okay. And God is good. So there's a lot of discoveries and a lot of documenting we need to be doing from Africa here. And Einstein, our CCO, remember, this Trico, we don't undermine ourselves. We are here and we are think tanks. With that, I sign out. Dr. Clarence, TV 7 Live. Stay blessed. Be a blessing. Remember, being good is easy. Any good is good enough. Ukangweta good mbija na watu good. Those questions, a little faith moves a mountain. Don't have faith. Have no doubt. Kick out your doubts. The you can't, the traumatization, that voice that keeps ringing. the voice that was being sung to you as a jingle. Ningi shakati, ningi shakati. Uchirowa ne propaganda, uchirowa ma jingles. Let me tell you, I'm here. The voice that speaks is speaking that speaks. Forget everything wrong that you were taught. Everything that is stressing you, know this. What is stressing you is stressing you. So it's stressing you. Don't stress about it. It is finished. It is done. Next